detrimental to the town is, you know, if we put in 1.3 as a revenue number, and the real number is really only gonna be 500,000, you know, you plug that 500,000 into next year's budget, now you gotta cut $800,000, you know, from next year's budget. That's where the problem comes in, because you can't use that 1.3 going forward.
Well, you still gotta recover the money you didn't make this year too.
Yeah, how do you plug it, Mike?
I understand this is the plug for the next year's budget, it's not 1.3, it's gonna be 500,000, but if we're planning on 1.3, it's only 500, where's that other 800,000 coming from?
Well, no,
To me-
we're true, oh, I agree.
So I mean, that's a
I
bigger
agree,
issue.
I agree. But, yeah, I agree, but the thing is, that we're doing, I guess they're both at the same time. We're doing next year's budget now, you know, in the next 8 weeks or so. But you're right, there's the current year issue as
Well,
well.
we have to decide whether it's a timing issue, when we talk about next year's budget. I mean, is it money that we think we're never gonna collect? Were we wrong in our assumptions? Or is it that the process was delayed? Does that affect, you know, what you budget for next year? And then I think we look at, you know, this is one revenue item. You know, what's the status of other revenue items? Is there anything else, you know, positive variances that, you know, may help? Right, look at everything all together before we make any decisions on what to cut or not cut.
Those one-time revenues for the budget, that's your problem.
Right.
You don't have those all back on.
Well, I know we wrestled with it last year, and there are some Board of Finances that have authority to issue spending freezes. This one, I guess, doesn't.
But, I mean, last year we had a big negative variance that was made up for. You know, I think Pete was talking about a positive variance, some of the auto.
Supplemental.
Yeah, supplemental. So, I mean, definitely let's get to the bottom of this, let's find out where we stand, but let's look at other revenue sources as well, and where they stand, and how confident we are that those other ones will be there or not.
Do we possibly task somebody on our board to maybe sit with our first selectman and share our concerns of that?
This board shared our concerns with them last time, the second, was this 2 weeks ago?
Maybe.
Well, it was a concern, but I mean, now it's a time-based concern. Here we are farther down the road, and we haven't seen it get any better.
We were 2 weeks down the road and no additional bills went up. That's my red light. That's my, where there's a new renewed push to get these out. Listen, I would have been happy with even 5 bills going out the door, and it was, at least it was movement, but in 2 weeks to have no
It's
movement.
negative.
That's a concern to me, and now the concern is, I know it's going, and I can't say for sure, but I know it has to be done in the next 22 days in that office, it's the grants. And that's a massive list, I mean, especially with all of the new, you know, sniff tests that we have in place where, you know, no one's getting overbilled and everything like that, that's a massive, you know, undertaking that needs to happen over 22 days. So, you know, the next week you come in and there's nothing, and then the next week, and I get it, because there are stuff, you know, that grand list is an important number, but I have my concern, and I think, Mark, you definitely have the same one that I have, that 2 weeks we didn't get anything, so.
I mean, I will take on that task. I've done it on the side, I'll do it more formally, and ask him to come in for our next, well, I'm not gonna see him here tomorrow, because we have weather issues tomorrow, but, you know, possibly for next week to address this.
And this is me speaking, and any of the board, it's not I don't want it to be a beating up session, it's just more of a informational, like, hey, let's work
Time-based,
together,
moving,
like, you know, what we don't want is, one thing we don't want is, we don't wanna bring in, you know, we don't wanna miss our revenue number, we worked our you-know-what's off to get the credit rating that we have. If we don't bring in our revenue number, I mean, we're just gonna, don't give them any reason to drop us. We gotta go out and we gotta bond money soon. And we gotta get the best interest rates possible. So it's not a matter of, it's, hey, what can we do to fix it? Telling me the renewed push is out there, and then 2 weeks later, it's, come on, let's do this together, and let's fix it. If it was, a little bit overzealous, okay, I can live with overzealous in our projections, but now how do we fix it?
Overzealous is 80% less than, or 65% less than what you put in. The overzealous is that we're 90% of where we thought we were. I mean, there's a big difference there. So, I mean, you know, at some point, we gotta figure out what the merit is on that number. And I guess that's what we're all talking about. When would that point be? Or is that something we were expecting Chris to come in and tell us?
Well, I know he tasked Mandy, or somebody must have sent Mandy to give
Is
this.
that, I'm just curious, is that 12/5/17, that's the right date, the first line? That's the right
So that is
benchmark?
when, Chris and myself sat with Liz on the very first day and said, and that was before he came in, because he came in, I think, on a, that was a Friday we sat, and he came in on that following Tuesday
So-
to talk to you guys and told you, remember, about where we were. Those are the numbers that I have written down from that meeting with Liz.
So the math says, so they go from 12/5 to 2/5, right, the first line to the third line. So in that 2-month period, there's only been 12 audits that have gone from TMA to the assessor. 12, because you started with 35, now at 47. So that's kind of scary in terms of, you know, what's the timing to get together, whatever, 77. I don't expect them all in tomorrow.
Sounds like
Well,
6 days of
We
an
were,
audit.
we were also
That's-
told that
that's
it
kind of
wasn't, you know, it's a bell curve. We were ready to get a slew of them, and all at once is the way it was explained.
Heard that 2 weeks ago. And again, it's not, I'm not,
So.
So right now, we're on a flat of the
What
bell curve.
exactly do we want, you know?
We're on a
Chris
shelf.
to do, just a status report, about,
well, we have the status report, and unfortunately, the
Yeah.
status report is showing,
well, that's true.
there is no,
Yeah.
you know, I'm just trying to help with the conversation. Chris, thank you for the status report, we have it. 2 weeks, the status hasn't changed. There's concern of not hitting our number. And as Mike said, if these bills don't go out by April 30th, you're not collecting them. You're simply not, I mean. And in the bigger fear is, you know, as it was stated in the last meeting, was the big ones are just about, these big ones are, these people are gonna wanna talk about it, they're probably gonna get maybe legal involved. I mean, if you're gonna throw a company a $300,000
We
bill.
talked about that, it's pretty hard for them to come back and when they've actually negotiated during the audit.
You're right, yeah, I forgot about that.
Okay,
You're
I
right.
mean, it's very hard when they know it's coming and they've actually proved,
Sat with them.
yay or nay, this is really, you know, property. But they could, at some point, maybe they don't have the money and say, okay, we'll take a legal action and maybe delay it a year.
Well, and then that, yeah, I mean, that's the other thing, is, yeah, you could send the bill out, and these companies, you know, it's what, 2% a year, 2% a month. They could say, well, we're not gonna pay it right now, that does us no good, yeah, we get a little interest, and they decide to pay it on July 1st.
It's 18% interest, by the way. It's 2% per month.
2% per month, yeah.
2.5.
And I believe the number that I was told is they have to pay 90% if they're contesting it, and not get interest tacked on. So like payment of the protest, basically.
Thank you, David.
Mandy, I had a question last
Yes.
week, and maybe it was related to you, but when I look at the financial report of the town, and
Yeah.
on page 22, it talks about measurement focus, basics of accounting, financial presentation. It says, and I may misunderstand it, but it says revenues are recorded when earned and expenses are recorded when a liability is incurred, regardless of the timing of the related cash flows. Property taxes are recognized as revenues in the year in which they are
So there's a couple things with the tax. So there's a law that says that if they collect it within the first 60 days of the new year, it's still considered available to pay current liabilities. So we do an adjustment every year to back out the prior 60 days and put it in the next 60 days. But as a whole, anything that was levied but was not received is put in the books as an accounts receivable.
But if it's received.
If it's received,
days,
yeah, if it's received further out than that, then it is the cash flow
so you
related
just
to
want to
cash
know
flow.
what year it contributed to rather than.
Right, because it's, at that point, it's going against the accounts receivable, not really the collection line.
So it's not really June 30th, and we really do have.
You do have the 60-day,
July, August.
yeah.
Okay.
Is this number based on 47 audits?
No, that's the amount billed after 18.
So if I see this right, it's early projection shows we're going to exceed the 1.3. It's linear. We'll exceed the 1.3 if it's linear.
Yeah, if they're all related.
Yeah, 18 into that is about 15K per audit.
Mhm.
Okay, and if that's only 18, we still got 100 audits, then that's another 150.
Yeah.
Okay, that's another $1.5 million. So I don't know if it's linear or if we jump to the big ones first.
One other change is on the third line.
Yes,
You have 14 audits billed to the owner.
yes.
I would adjust the dollar amount of the audits, that 269 should be reduced by the 19,000 that's already been collected. Right, so
Yes.
that- 'cause otherwise.
Correct.
Don't remain.
Yes, it should. Yep.
I just did a quick little analysis here is, if the audits and the dollar amount's linear, we're gonna exceed 1.5 million.
Yeah, assuming, yeah.
Assuming it's
we can get it
linear.
down the pipeline, right.
Yeah, but I don't think they are, because it was said that, and it was said even the bigger ones haven't even bought, I mean, I don't, yeah.
Well,
So-
it just, my point is,
Yeah.
we've gone through 18, we've got 269,000, that's basically $15,000 an audit,
Yeah.
okay? I'm saying if it's linear, I'm purely.
Yeah, he's only
linear.
going, yeah.
I don't know
Okay.
if 18 is a big enough sample size.
And if you stay on that linear basis, you're well over 1.5 million by the end of it. And if we haven't done the bigger ones yet, it could look more promising. You know what I'm saying? You know, early, looking at the numbers statistically, looking, we're okay.
But will that 1.5 come before?
Listen, yeah, listen,
It will, but I mean, we might not know when it's gonna come.
listen, one of the things that we all agree on, and I truly do believe that money is out there. It's how do we get it here quicker? I'm not questioning the capability of Team A, they came with, great, recommendations and references. It's not, it's, what can we do to speed that 1.5? Heck, 2 million, I mean, I'll be the first one to stand up, this is the greatest thing ever, we got $2 million, we only put in 1.3. That's not, I think that money is out there. Just some reason that when TMA is checking, I mean, look, audit in progress, okay, so TMA is telling me that these audits are in progress, there's 77. What's dragging their feet? Well, I guess, I mean, why 89 to 77 in 2 months? In
Because
progress.
they moved over to the.
Oh, they moved over, yeah, that's right.
But
But,
I think we just gotta find out why TMA isn't being more responsive. Why aren't they pushing more of these out the door? You know,
so, yeah.
I mean, it seems there's a lot to be reviewed internally, and that's.
Yeah, there's a ton to be reviewed internally, there's a ton that TMA still has too,
Yeah. I mean, that's-
So it's a two-pronged, like, and I'm not just going after,
no, when it says to be reviewed, is that by us?
Yes, Liz has to sign off on it before it can be entered as a COC.
And what does she physically do? Is she just checking the math? Is she,
That's been discussed.
Rubber stamping it.
And I don't really know the full answer, but she, from her, it is her certification on the line, and so she's double checking what they put in and seeing if she agrees with it, basically. Is how it was explained to me.
I'd like to see some better criteria that you should be looking at? You're looking at, you just purely looking at the math and say, okay, all the math added up right, it's $15,000 or,
I think there was a push to have a more of a rubber stamp approval as we hired these people as the experts and did trust working through. With that, with minor.
Correct.
There has been that suggested, I don't know that it's gone that way yet, but that was
I
definitely
mean,
discussed.
maybe we should be looking at the two reviewed line also. Are we putting way too much time in that when we've hired this
100%, both of those lines, yeah.
company to come out and do this? If they present it to us, we should be checking the math, to make sure there's no spreadsheet error, and then pushing it down the road.
And I would think, I mean, and I'm not the assessor, it's not my license on the line, but I would think that there's definitely a leg to stand on when she said, this highly recommended auditing company gave this to me, why wasn't it for me to believe that they did accurate information? They've done it for all these towns for all these years.
Exactly, that's my point.
Uh,
Maybe she's putting too much on herself to, you know. If that's the case, you're never gonna get these done.
Dave's been tasked, he's got it, we'll look forward to maybe a week.
It's my phone.
He's got it, and, we're only here to help.
Yeah.
We all got skin in the game on this one, so. What else you got, Mandy? Are we
That's
done with TMA? Mike brought a question up about some letter he's waiting for from Bloom Shapiro.
Yes, so I guess there was, when Ron was here last meeting, there was a question if there was going to be a management letter. He said it should be completed by the following Friday, which would have been this past Friday. I reached out to Ron today to question that because one of they file a OPM questionnaire that specifically says, did you tell the town this? What did you do? What criteria did it meet? And there's a question on there that says, is there a separate management letter? And it says no, the no box is checked. So I just was looking for clarification whether that was a miscommunication, or whether there is one in the mail. I didn't hear back from him today. I don't know if he was in the office, but.
I think we point at some point after we hear back from him.
Yeah.
You bring it up at that point in
Yeah.
time. Under finance.
Yep.
Public input, Mr. Russo.
You're not gonna make me go up there, are you? You can hear me.
But it's not me.
It's the recorder.
I need you to come up.
Yeah.
All right. Is this mic on? Because I don't think most of your mics are on. William Russo, 407 Elmwood Drive, town. I was listening intently to the discussion about TMA, and I wondered if we have a contract where they have specified time requirements, performance time requirements. I don't even know if it's applicable to the subject, but, you know, if you get a contract and you have performance time requirements and then penalties, possibly, that may relate to resolving this issue in the future. It may not be pertinent right now, it may not be pertinent ever, because I'm not sure whether that's a valid question.
It's always a valid question.
Well,
Because of the contract says.
It all depends what the contract says.
I don't know what the contract says.
oh, does anybody, you know,
I
if we don't have one, then I would suggest that maybe in the future, that maybe,
Sounds like they only said they do 135 in a year, right? And say.
There's a total of 225 audits over the 2 years. They put a front load of starting them, knowing that some of them will get finished next year. Some of them won't get started till next year, but some of them are getting started this year with the expectation they'll finish next year.
you know, I just think it's unfair for, you know, the people who have to bring in the budget, prepare the budget, gather the money. I think it's a little unfair that this is the second time I've heard, you know, that we're a little bit behind on making progress. So, just a suggestion.
We did put an action item that Mr. Uyghur is going to go with bird dog that for us.
The other thing is, again, you people volunteer your time, you do a good job. I'm under the impression via the town charter that we're supposed to be in possession of all budgets from boards and commissions, and I don't believe that you are. And I think you need all the time that you can to examine those budgets. And I think, if departments aren't gonna submit their budgets, I think you just tell them they're gonna get an automatic 10% reduction. So that's only an aside, but, I think we need to, again, I've referred to in the past about the good old boy system. We're still pretty much operating in that good old boy system. You're gonna get what you're willing to accept. Okay? You're gonna get what you're willing to accept. If you put up with sloppiness and laziness, that's what you're gonna get. The burden is compounded, falls on you, okay? Recently, first selectman said that he may need an FOI coordinator. Well, I'm gonna go back a few years now, when I asked a question about the retirement insurance package that some of the police officers were offered. And I know that Mandy had a question on how to put this together. And I think this should probably go back a year or two, not quite sure, but I just today got that agreement that they signed off on. And what's in the agreement is the incentive was for those officers to retire, that they were gonna get 7 years, 100% paid medical insurance. So it was like pulling teeth. I get criticized for digging for the truth, for unearthing everything that people are trying to hide. And that's why I sort of made the statement, I'm looking straightforward, that everybody gets measured by the same rule. Straight up, let's play again by the rules. All right, so I have that. And my last comment is, I've expressed to the chairman that I want to pursue the fraudulent charges that have been made in account number 200-363. And I've indicated to the chairman in writing that I'm prepared to perhaps bother Mandy some more, and I will do an FOI on each one of those accounts. Each one of those accounts. So again, I'm not sure if I'm in the right area. I don't know if it's the bailiwick of the Board of Finance, but I want that fraud investigated. And as I said last time, there's only so much you can drop as being an error, and then you have to use good judgment. And if somebody is manipulating the system, not following the town charter, not coming to the Board of Finance and requesting fund transfers, then you need to put your foot down. That's the good old boy way of doing things. Bless everything, let's hope it goes away. I want that complaint investigated. I want some answers and I want some prosecution. So, I don't know if it's your bailiwick or not. If not, I would appreciate a response and I'll take it wherever.
Isn't that the police commission's responsibility to?
Well, and I was gonna let you finish. To let you know, Mr. Russo, I did have a conversation with Mandy about some checks and balances, and I do plan on bringing it up on a Board of Finance agenda. Kind of the way I'm working these agendas is, although this is not a quote-unquote special meeting because we voted them on, because this night was a Board of Selectmen night, so I kind of, when a bigger topic's gonna be discussed, I'm gonna more reserve it for when our quote-unquote regular Tuesday, second and fourth Tuesday meetings are, in case the public wanted to come out and hear input about it. So I do plan on bringing it up. I did have a conversation with Mandy. I do need to reach out to see, is it this board's, purview to look into it, but you brought up a good point of what happens when, the person signs off on something, and me and Mandy went back and forth on it. A particular department head signs off on it, and Mandy's department feels that that isn't what that line item was meant for.
Should be
Where does
kicked
it
back.
go
Should be
to
kicked back.
that? And we didn't, we went around and around and around, we never came up with an answer, because I don't think there was
I think
an
it's
answer.
obvious. If I was doing the job, there you go. Do not pass go.
Well, and Mandy has talked with her department extensively as well, since you've shed some light on things, and she's already, I'll say it a million times, she does a great job up there.
Oh,
She's got
absolutely.
her people looking even deeper into, you know,
Absolutely.
when POs come in, are they just being charged off to any old line item?
You know, I found an invoice for pickles and mayo and, you know, room rental.
Yeah, make a sandwich.
You know, under firearms training, I found coffee and donuts and, you know,
Yeah. Well,
I can show you these POs.
And you have, and you shared with me, and I want you to know that, you know, the quote-unquote unearthing that you've done, it's created a conversation with Mandy and I, and as the department head of finance, she's gone back to her people and has stressed.
And I don't believe it's the finance director's job to interpret a contract. It is to be and I'm specifically referring to the educational reimbursement where the contract begins when no state and federal funds are available. Then the town of Windsor locks will pick up the tab. I read that as the search for state and federal funds has to be a prerequisite. And that's why I'm saying I don't think that educational expense should be paid. However, being a former union president, I wouldn't care if they did a memorandum of understanding, change the contract language, but I'm calling it as it is. If that's what it says, that's what I expect. I'm tired of the good old boy way we do business. And I think, I'm telling you, I think if I go in FOI, some other line item accounts, I think I'll find many fraudulent entries and discrepancies. That's my suspicion.
Well, thank you. I hope that. Sure, Aaron.
Anybody want to ask me any questions?
I just want to say, as a new person on the board, in my background with the military, in your statements about a good old boy system, I can only speak for me, but I have no intentions of being part of a good old boy system.
Well,
There are standards and laws and things in place to stop it.
thank you.
And there's enough going on in our society to show that we need to look at that and rise above it. So if you see that, I apologize, but I have no intention of being part of it.
I have no idea who's driving the ship. I really don't. I think we're a ship without an anchor that's just drifting at sea, and that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Russo. Excuse me.
On the 4-year thing, can you add in 2018, what people are asking for, so we can look at that 4-year, kind of look and see what the 18 asked for?
It's gonna get smaller.
Yeah,
As
I
long as you
know.
guys are you're okay with it being
I'll need my
smaller.
magnifying glasses, but, you know, I'm trying to, it's easier to look at what we're asked, what we're being asked for, then you can look across the 4 year, you can actually see what was spent, what wasn't spent, what was asked for. You know, but
Do we, let me throw this out there, do we care if it's a 4-year, we see each 4 years, or do we just come up with, here's the average of the 4 years?
I like looking at the 4 years.
Let's see, 4 year, 2 years, close enough. And that